Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
He's only been in Tuscaloosa for a year, but already the rumor mill is swirling about Lane Kiffin. Moving on to the NFL, reports came out on Sunday that the Alabama offensive coordinator is one of the front runners for the same position with the 49ers under new head coach Jim Tomsula. We will just have to wait and see, but we'll discuss much more, of course, right here on TITV. And with that, we say good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm WVUA TV Sports Director Gary Harris. Our program presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock, proud bottlers of Pepsi products across the state of Alabama, including Diet Pepsi. You know how much I love Pepsi Next, but the way I've been packing on the pounds, it was time to go to Diet Pepsi. 0 calories, better than 60 even. BJ didn't get the sound effect for me this week. But it still tastes extremely good and refreshing. Pick up some Diet Pepsi the next time you're at your local grocery store. Well, Rodney, we mentioned Lane Kiffin. The rumors ended a week of coaching moves at Alabama. We reported to you last week on Tider Insider TV of Kevin Steele's departure to LSU as defensive coordinator. Not even one day later, linebackers coach Lance Thompson was on the move, and not just on the move anyway, hired away by arch rival Auburn. Let's discuss the coaching staff changes. And today, Director of Player Development Tyler Siskey getting back on the field, moving on to South Alabama. So you expect some turnover in the coaching business. It's the way it is. But Alabama having quite a bit of it this time around.
I think, we talked about Coach Steele having a great opportunity to go to LSU as a defensive coordinator. You certainly could not pass that up. Lance Thompson, he's been here before. This marked his third time here in Tuscaloosa. And, of course, last time he left for Tennessee. This time he leaves for Auburn. At the same time, I really don't think, let's be honest, Lance didn't have a choice. He either had to find a job or, get on the road. So I think that, the Auburn thing came open, so he took what he could get.
People make a lot out of this when it's Alabama because, as somebody told me today, a former administrator in the Southeastern Conference, he said, man, there's 13 other teams that want what Alabama's got, and that's SEC championship, playing in the first college football playoff. It was described, the coaching situation with the assistants was described on a national radio show as a train wreck. And I said, well, everybody's lining up to be involved in this train wreck then. Yeah. It's just the nature of it. When anything happens at Alabama, it's magnified because that's the target for everybody else in the SEC.
It's not a train wreck. I think they've had some things that, certainly they've had to clean up and clear up. But again, Kevin still had an opportunity to go to another program as a defensive coordinator. You don't pass that up as a position coach 99% of the time, especially when it's a top 10, top 12 program type like LSU. So that certainly was expected. And again, Lance Thompson on the move again. I don't think it's necessarily what I would term a train wreck.
And also, coaches have left every year. The one constant is Nick Saban. I think as long as he's the head coach, Alabama's okay. Remember, he won back-to-back national championships with two different offensive coordinators, Jim McElwain and Doug Nussmeier. So even if Kiffin were to leave, and I don't think he's going anywhere, but Alabama's going to be fine as long as the head man has the initials NS.
Well, no doubt about that. I mean, when you start, Gary, you start at the top. And again, Nick Saban has done a fantastic job as the head coach. He's had to replace a lot of assistants throughout his tenure, but Alabama continues to have success. And they will continue to do so even if Lane Kiffin or any other assistant were to leave.
Yeah, it's not just the time of year when coaches leave, but sometimes players depart as well. Alabama has a couple of guys that won't be back with the program in 2015. Sophomore running back Alti Tenpenny and junior tight end Malcolm Fashawn won't be back with the team. Tenpenny tweeted confirmation on Sunday saying he's appreciated his 2 years in Tuscaloosa, but it's time for a new chapter. Both players played very sparingly for the Tide during their careers. No doubt Tenpenny's talented, but was down the depth chart. Fashawn, more of a blocking type tight end. So, again, Rod, no major loss here. It's just part of, again, just the natural order of things sometimes in college football.
Yeah, I thought Alti Tenpenny had a chance to be a tremendous running back at Alabama. I think, he came here, there was a lot of competition. And, you have to do things off the field to put yourself in a position to play. And I think Alti struggled with that throughout his career.
And remember D. Hart. He went on to Colorado State and had a big season, now going to the NFL, so maybe Tenpenny can do the same thing somewhere else. Well, when players decide to leave, sometimes it's because the depth chart is loaded. Alabama has a couple of really, really talented freshmen, a lot of talented freshmen, but two of them, Football Writers Association of America, Freshman All-Americas, punter J.K. Scott, a lot of All-Americans in there, and Cam Robinson, the left tackle, only allowed 3 sacks all year. Those guys as good as there are at their positions as freshmen in the country. Well, this week is also a time for players who are moving on to the next level, the NFL, to showcase their skills in front of NFL scouts and coaches. Today kicked off Senior Bowl week down in Mobile. 4 Crimson Tide players are there, and so is our very own Jenn Chapman, joined by Wyatt Carruthers, who's manning the camera. Jen, what do you have for us tonight?
It was a busy afternoon here in Mobile as the Bama players suited up for the South team and their chance to play in front of NFL scouts. Of course, when Coach Nick Saban arrived, the fanfare and the media went right to him, asking questions about potential coaching changes, which I'm sure you guys heard about. But really, this afternoon was about the Bama players and their chance to get into the big league. Now, the story all year long was about quarterback Blake Sims, the fifth-year senior who patiently waited his turn for a starting spot with the Crimson Tide. And now he gets a roster spot on the Senior Bowl, but not to be outdone by his teammates Ari Kwanjo, Austin Shepard, and Jolston Fowler, who are all also trying to impress these scouts and get their chance at the NFL draft.
It means everything. It's an honor to be here. Obviously, only a select group of guys get to come here, so it means everything, and I'm just trying to come out here and showcase my talents.
I hope they just see the physicality, and I just like to come down and hit people. That's what I'm hoping they see.
Really, I'm out here to play, do what I do, and show my character. And my character, I mean, anybody can pick up whatever they want from that.
What do you hope stands out to the scouts about your play?
I hope that they get a genuine, if anything, I hope that they get a genuine gauge for who I am as a person and as a player.
And after this, I'll be talking to the players at the media night about playing with the Auburn players and other players from the SEC. This week, they are teammates. They are no longer foes after 4 and 5 years of playing against these guys. This week, they team up with them. And boys, I got to tell you, I got a treat coming out of here. This is the Reese's Senior Bowl, and they gave me a 2-pound Reese's cup to bring back to the studio. So for Tighter Insider, this is Jenn Chapman reporting from Mobile, Alabama.
Jen, great job there by you and Wyatt. Save me some Reese's peanut butter cups, so I love those things.
She's going to have to run extra.
Well, I'm drinking a Diet Pepsi, so I can go ahead and have a couple of Reese's peanut butter cups. How about that?
Go for it.
Mix them up there. All right, much more to come on TITV, including a former Crimson Tide player going off in the NBA last week to the tune of 52 points. Plus, we check in on Anthony Grant's basketball team after a demoralizing loss at home to the top-ranked Kentucky Wildcats. Will they be able to bounce back with another tough SEC road game on the slate? And then the Auburn Tigers at home? We'll discuss. And we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You see the information there on the screen on how you can get in touch with us. 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Email us at TITV@WVUATV.com or reach out to us on Twitter using the hashtag TighterInsiderTV. We're back with more right here on TITV right after this. We're back with an unbelievable performance from NBA veteran Mo Williams. The former Alabama point guard torched the Pacers on the road last week for a franchise record 52 points. It's also the most ever scored by a former Alabama player in the NBA. Latrell Sprewell had 49 for the Knicks one game. He ended the week averaging 30 points per game and 6 assists in 3 contests. And what's even more impressive, that performance helped the T-Wolves in a 16-game losing streak, and he is the NBA's Western Conference Player of the Week for his efforts. So at 32 years old, Mo still has a lot of gas left in the tank. Also, congrats to JaMychal Green, another former Crimson Tide basketball star. He was signed to a 10-day contract by the world champion San Antonio Spurs. Well, Alabama's current basketball team, Rodney, they could have used Mo and they could have used JaMychal Green on Saturday against top-ranked Kentucky. Still not sure it would have been enough. The Wildcats, well, they're not the nation's top-ranked team and undefeated for no reason, and they had their way with Anthony Grant's squad on Saturday inside a jam-packed Coleman Coliseum. Alabama had only 17 points at the half. The Tide did cut it to 9 in the second half, but Kentucky is just they're too talented. That's a fact. I don't care who was coaching Alabama. You could have brought Red Auerbach back. It would have made a difference. 70-48, and I say that because Anthony Grant is catching a lot of heat, but again, you got to have the players, Rodney, and that's not to say that they don't have some good players, but Kentucky runs a platoon system. Their top 10 players, I'm not sure there's anybody on Alabama's roster that would be in that top 10. Maybe, but it's certainly debatable.
And that's pretty stout right there when you're talking about, and you're talking about 10 guys who are high school All-Americans who are recruited by virtually every school in the country. I mean, they're a loaded basketball team.
So my point is, Coach Grant's a good basketball coach, but at the end of the day, if you're going to compete with the Kentuckys, you're going to compete with the Dukes, you're going to compete with these teams on a national stage, the talent level just has to get better. That, folks, is a fact. Doesn't mean you can't be pretty good, doesn't mean you can't compete in the Southeastern Conference, but to be elite, the talent level for Alabama is just not there. Here's a look at the upcoming schedule. After 2 straight losses, it doesn't get any easier. At Arkansas on Thursday night, home to Auburn on Saturday night. That is a huge game for Alabama. Make no mistake. For Anthony Grant and the Tide taking on Bruce Pearl and the Tigers. Then it's the Florida Gators before going to Lexington to have to play Kentucky again. Ouch. Not a good year to catch Kentucky twice, but that's the upcoming schedule for the Tide. So this begs the question, Rodney, we touched on it a little bit already. If Kentucky's at the top of the bar in the SEC, how far away is Anthony Grant's program from getting to the top?
Well, we just talked about it. I mean, they've got 10 All-Americans. You've got to go out and recruit and try to, close the gap, and it's going to be very difficult, Gary, because, Kentucky's certainly one of the premier programs in the country. They play for they go to the big dance every year. They're going to compete for Final Four appearances, national championships, and all those types of things. A little bit easier to recruit, to a program like that.
Here's the short-term goal, though, for Alabama is to get into the NCAA tournament. That's the good news. You don't have to be as good as Kentucky to get in, but you do have to be as good as Arkansas. You do have to be able to compete with Florida. You do have to be better than Vanderbilt and Tennessee and some of these other programs. LSU's on the rise. That's the immediate challenge for Anthony Grant. Win enough games in the league to get this team into the NCAA tournament this year. I think it's an uphill battle for Alabama. Another thing, we mentioned recruiting. You got to get better players, and you got to get 13 players on scholarship. 13 healthy players. That's just something that has not. I know you can't play but 5 at a time, but if they're going to give you 13 scholarships, use them all. Get 13 players on scholarship. At least have the maximum number, and that's something that they've had a hard time doing here in Tuscaloosa. Well, Rod, let's move on. There's new blood in the Alabama Gymnastics program. Dana Duckworth, of course, taking over as head coach after the retirement of Sarah and David Patterson after 30-plus years at the Capstone. And on Friday night, a hiccup. Alabama was cruising on the road in Fayetteville against Arkansas until the final event for the Tide, the beam. They fell not once. They fell not twice, but Alabama fell 3 times, having to count 2 of those falls. Arkansas, meanwhile, dominated on the floor and came from nearly a 1.5 back, heading into the final rotation to win the meet. Alabama, though, has got to get it going in a hurry. They host top-ranked and 2-time NCAA defending champion Florida on Friday night at Coleman Coliseum.
I absolutely think this team is very excited about Friday night. Our energy is good. Their focus is much more toward what Alabama needs to do to get better this week. And that's all we're focusing on, is what we need to do to be at our very best. Who needs to go in and do their job? Those things are the things we're focusing on.
And they'll have to be focused because this Florida team is really, really good. Here's a look at what's ahead for Alabama. You see the upcoming meets. Of course, Florida, #1 in the country, at Kentucky, at home against Auburn. That long 100-plus meet winning streak on the line against the Auburn Tigers. And Boise State will be coming to Coleman Coliseum. So a team from out there in the West will be coming to Tuscaloosa. Well, much more to come on TITV. We'll check in on Alabama's 3 players going to Glendale, Arizona for the Super Bowl. And next, we're welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Rodney's just nipping at the bit here to answer some questions tonight. So give us a call, 205-348-9882. Email, Twitter address on the screen as well. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the award-winning Tider Insider TV. We'll return right after this break. They didn't get the outcome they wanted, but it wasn't for a lack of production. Clinton Dix intercepted 2 Russell Wilson passes in the NFC Championship game, and Eddie Lacy rushed for 73 yards, but the Packers collapsed late. Lost 28-22 in overtime to the Seahawks on Sunday in the NFC Championship game. The Patriots, meanwhile, dismantled the Colts in the AFC title tilt. Dante Hightower had 3 tackles in that game, while Josh Chapman had a couple of stops for Indy. So a total of 3 active Crimson Tide players will play in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. Hightower for the Pats, and Kevin Norwood, and James Carpenter for the Seahawks. Jesse Williams is on injured reserve for Seattle. So what's becoming a common theme, former Tiders in the Super Bowl looking for big rings. All right, Rod, let's go right to the Med Center hotline tonight. First up, our buddy in Anniston, Harold. Hey, Harold, how are you?
How you doing, guys?
Good.
Hey, Harold.
Hey, guys, I want to get y'all opinion, man. I'm wondering, with us having a new quarterback and we got a lot of high-profile running back recruits coming in, man, do you think we're going to get back to a heavy dose of running and try to develop a dominant offensive line next year?
Well, Harold, we talked a little bit about that last week, about the running game being good this year, but maybe not being the mainstay that it's been in the past. And I said, for the record, I think the offensive line was underrated. I think they did a really good job. So I think Mario Cristobal is an excellent coach. Rodney, I guess this question is, will the running game be more of a priority as far as being the go-to part of the offense that's been the past next season, do you think?
I kind of agree with Harold. I think that certainly when you look at this team and maybe the makeup of it as of right now, again, we'll have to wait till spring practice, but you look at it, you got some really talented young offensive linemen. I think it's a great opportunity this spring to develop those guys. I think the running back core, Harold, just as you said, is got a chance to be really, really good. You've got some young receivers, and you've got a quarterback, Gary, that, really don't know who it's going to be, possibly Coker, but you've got some other candidates certainly involved in that race. But it's going to be a guy that doesn't have a lot of experience, so you really kind of want to, if you can, take some pressure off of a young quarterback, and with your running game. And I think that I agree with Harold. I think the recipe is there to have a really good running attack next season.
We've got one frequent caller that reminds you of a Marvel or DC comic book character. There's only one Plato, and he's the only person that I know of that lives in Panorama. Let's go to Plato. Plato, what's up?
Hey, that's Panorama, Alabama, guys.
Okay.
Hey, good evening. I had a question regarding Coach Grant's the length of his contract. I know he got an extension after the NCAA appearance a few years ago. Do y'all know how many more years he has left on his contract?
Plato, right off the top of my head, I do not. I know that it's still several years. I interviewed Coach Battle recently, and he is very pleased with the job that Coach Grant is doing. And I do think, as I said earlier, for the record, Coach Grant's an excellent basketball coach. Plus, he does do some things that not everybody does. He requires those guys to go to class. He requires them to be held accountable. He's an incredible gentleman. But they are going to have to win more basketball games. But I don't know necessarily, in my opinion, if it's as much, again, coaching as it is just having to get more talent on the team. They've got some good pieces there, but I don't think they're talented enough to compete at the level they want to compete at. But as far as what they do in the summer, whatever's allowed by NCAA rules is what they work. I'll tell you this, and Rodney, you know this, it's not a lack of effort or intensity or toughness or wanting to win that's keeping Alabama basketball from getting over the hump. They've got all that, and Coach Grant brings it to the table every day.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that, Gary. I think it all goes back to what we've been talking about, the fact that, right now in terms of competing at the top of the conference with Kentucky, they certainly just don't have that talent. It's going to take, recruiting at a little higher level, obviously.
All right, let's go to Taylorville and talk to John. John, what's going on?
Yeah, I was wondering about Kentucky. Did they not play games during the summer? I think they traveled, and I was under the impression they played games where Alabama could even practice.
Well, now Alabama's taken some trips before as well overseas, and different teams you're allowed a certain amount of these games like you're talking about where you travel, and I want to say that Kentucky went down to the Caribbean. Right off the top of my head, I can't remember, but they did play some summer games. Alabama has played some summer games in the past. I know the Tide's gone to Europe before, so it happens. Some teams take those trips, some teams don't. It all depends on how you can get those things scheduled. But whatever these teams do, it's it's under NCAA rules, and Alabama has done that in the past as well. So that's the only way I can answer that, and probably will do it again. All right, when we come back on TITV, Alabama got the best of Auburn on the football field this past season. Could they do the same on the ice? Well, ice hockey will tell you the answer when we come back. And more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. We appreciate you calling in already, looking for more of you to get through and talk to us, interact with Tider Insider TV. Go ahead and give us a call, and we'll get to you when we come back right after this timeout. So you stay with us. It's not even a scholarship sport at the University of Alabama. It's club level, but don't tell the Frozen Tide or their fans that, because they get fired up. Playing over in Pelham, the Tide swept the Auburn Tigers in a 3-game set this weekend to win the Iron Cup. They knocked off Auburn, as I said, in all 3 games, including a 12-5 beatdown on Sunday to take home the trophy again. Alabama has never lost to its arch rival in ice hockey. And maybe that streak will become like the one in gymnastics. It's over 100 strong, as we mentioned earlier. All right, Rodney, let's get right back to the Med Center hotline and talk to Daniel here in Tuscaloosa. Daniel, welcome into the program. Daniel, you with us?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Daniel. I'm going to turn your TV down.
Whether Alabama stand with Dalen Charlotte
Dalen Charlotte, the wide receiver. Yeah, we got you. He's a guy committed to Alabama, then uncommitted, and a number of schools are looking at this young man.
I talked to Dalen Charlotte's coach today, in fact, and I think when it comes down to it, he's going to wait till signing day to make his decisions between Alabama and LSU, and I think Alabama's in pretty good shape as of today.
All right, let's stay here in Tuscaloosa and talk with our buddy CB. CB, what's up, my man?
Not much. How y'all gentlemen? Is Coach Saban got any hot names in the pot trying to get hired from coaches to hang with these recruits and get it going? Y'all know of any?
Yeah, CB, I think they're going to do okay in recruiting. It's kind of late in the process. Alabama's in pretty good shape with all their guys for the most part, and I think they're okay there. So I really don't know that the assistant coaches not having a couple on the staff is necessarily going to hurt at this point as we start moving forward. Yeah, there's a lot of names out there. I don't know really how much you want to speculate, but just some names that have been thrown out there. Tosh Lapoy, who's been an intern, has been talked about as possibly joining the staff full-time as a linebackers coach. And again, let's be clear, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. Derek Ainsley's a guy that I know that, Nick Saban has expressed a lot of respect for. He's been here in the program before, went through the program as a GA, I believe, Gary, a few years ago. Now the Kentucky secondary coach. He understands the Alabama system. That's one thing that Nick Saban really likes. There's even been Deshae Townsend, who's a former Alabama player. His daughter's here as a freshman in school, and he is at Mississippi State, as we said, secondary coach, and he's a guy that certainly I think is interested in the job.
All right, thanks for all the phone calls tonight. Sorry we couldn't get to some emails, but we only have a allotted amount of time, and it's up. Well, Alabama is used to national championships. When we come back on TITV, we'll let you know about a couple of more trophies making their way back to Titletown. Stay with us on another beautiful evening in Tuscaloosa and in Mobile, where our Jenn Chapman and Wyatt Carruthers are stationed for Senior Bowl coverage. We'll be back with more right after this. The Bryant Museum's got that great commercial about not having enough space for trophies. Well, make room for some more. The Alabama cheerleading squads brought two home this weekend at the UCA College Cheerleading Championships in Orlando. The Tide won the co-ed team title and the all-girl title. Shelton State also here in Tuscaloosa took home its 8th consecutive title in the junior college ranks. So a big, big weekend for cheerleading in Tuscaloosa. That is going to do it for the program tonight. A reminder, you can catch us again tonight on tape delay at 10:30, or you can go to our website, WVUATV.com, and watch us anytime you'd like. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching Tider Insider TV. Have a great evening, everybody, from Tuscaloosa.